One, Tyler Reddick, 3 for 3, the first driver to sweep the first 3 races of the Cup Series season. Michael Jordan may never be allowed to miss a race again. 2, SVG comes up short in his bid for 6 Cup Series road course wins in a row, but is the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series win of any consolation. And 3, Layne Riggs wins a fairly entertaining Truck Series race at St. Petersburg in Florida. Did the NASTrucks IndyCar crossover work? Welcome everybody to another Motorsport Monday. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by my co-host, Brandon Craftsman. Brandon, how are you tonight?
Doing well, Ben, and glad to be here for another Motorsport Monday. As always, 3 great open segments to get to this hour, and also we'll be shooting the breeze later with all sorts of different things. But yeah, Reddick, 3 for 3, 23-11. They're on a pretty big roll right now.
Yeah, they certainly are. Bubba Wallace is also second in the point standings, and our friend of the show, Matthew Owens, I saw his tweet following the Cup Series race weekend. The gap from Reddick to Wallace in first and second is the same as the gap from Bubba Wallace down to, I think, something like 27th in points right now. So that 55 points that you get for a win now, they really weren't kidding when they said they were going to emphasize winning in a new sort of way here with this new chase for the Cup era. So you go 3 for 3 to start the year. You can't start the year any better if you're Tyler Reddick. That is a massive points advantage. I've already started to see it, man. I'm seeing people saying, well, thank goodness we didn't go to full season, because if we went to full season, Reddick would already have a championship locked up. It's race 3, guys.
No, you wouldn't.
There's a long way. How do you know that somebody's not going to go rattle off 3 in a row to start this weekend?
Christopher Bell rattled off 3 in a row at the beginning of last year. I mean, just shifted over one race, but still, I mean, where was he at the end? I mean, I know it was the P word then, but which we shall not name again. But it's different circumstances, but still, it's so early in the season. We really don't know, and until we get to the Coke 600 around there, that's when you start to see these things play out. And especially, I think it was even Ryan Preece, when he was asked about it today, he said, wait till we get past Martinsville or so. Then you might see it play out about 10 races in or further.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's kick this off here. Obviously, we have to start with the Cup Series race yesterday at Circuit of the Americas. And Tyler Reddick again. Michael Jordan's got 3 three-peats now, right? His 2 NBA three-peats, and of course, this three-peat now with Tyler Reddick. But man, this I think again just highlights how important it is to have Michael Jordan at the racetrack and have his race team doing well. NASCAR got shout outs on Get Up and First Take this morning on ESPN, and you have Brian Windhorst talking about how ironic it is that Jordan sells his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets, and now they're on a tear. They're looking like one of the hottest young teams in the NBA, and his NASCAR team obviously doing what they're doing now with both of their main drivers. Again, like I said, Bubba Wallace is off to a strong start to the year as well, second in the championship standings at the moment. Life's pretty good if you're MJ right now, isn't it, Brandon?
Really is. It's in a new era of Michael Jordan's career as a businessman, as first as an athlete, now as an owner of different properties and financial stakes, and as you mentioned, the Hornets, and before that, the Bobcats, and that whole era. But reaching a new era here, where also he's his lifelong love of NASCAR and working with that with Denny Hamlin, and he mentioned in the post race interview with Jamie Little, Denny Hamlin's the one who put this the Magic Crew together. He knew to get Billy Scott, he knew to get Tyler Reddick, he knew to get Bubba Wallace. He knew that the talent he wanted to gather together. Of course, Bubba being the first one of those puzzle pieces way back when, which is crazy now. But he's like, I provide the funding. I make sure we have the dollar signs that make things make sense. But still, he's got to give himself a little more credit than that. I think a lot of the direction of how they decide how they're going to tackle things, and especially in the courtroom. My goodness, in this the whole lawsuit thing from the month of December, he's got to give himself a lot more credit for, I think, the philosophy of this team and how they operate on and off the track. But yeah, he's got three gold balls in a row, and now he's got Harley J. Earl and whatever they give you for Echo Park and Circuit of the Americas, just all nestled next to each other. He can add to his list of trophies, but just further cementing his legacy as the GOAT.
I wonder how many times the Bulls won 3 games in a row when Jordan was there. Right? Because I mean, of course, we're being a little facetious here with these talking about a three-peat here, but it is obviously very different in NASCAR as opposed to the NBA. And like I said, this has never been done. This is what are we now? I guess they've been saying a 77-year history. I mean, that's inclusive of 1949. I believe this is season 78, if my math is right, of what we now know as the NASCAR Cup Series. And for all the names, I mean, I saw the clip of Kyle Petty rattling these off on his show this week. Just think of how many legends of the sport that we've had, and many of them have won 2 races in a row. I'm old enough to remember Matt Kenseth doing that in 2009, and then I think he had an engine let go in Las Vegas, so that kind of doomed his effort there to go 3 in a row to start the year, but never been done in the history of the sport. And Tyler Reddick can now make that claim as the first driver to open the year up with 3 races in a row, even going all the way back to the days when guys like Richard Petty. I mean, Richard once rattled off 10 wins in a row, obviously not at the start of a year. But just to do it in this era, in an era where there's more competition than ever, more strong entries and teams that can be liable to win on any given race weekend, to be able to assert some dominance like this to start the year, and to do it at a completely different track this weekend from where we've been the first 2 race weekends in Daytona and Atlanta on drafting style tracks. Pretty incredible accomplishment if you're Tyler Reddick.
I think Tyler Reddick picked one of the to your point, one of the hardest eras in the sport's history to try to piece together 3 in a row at any point in the season. And you add on top of that, he did it with the first 2 races of the year, which are now on this schedule 2 of the most that should be 2 of the most unpredictable races of the year. For betting odds for everybody, there's no telling who's going to win these things, especially at Daytona and Atlanta. And somehow, some way, Tyler Reddick and Billy Scott able to find a way to get both of those pieced together. That already in itself was a feat. And then he gets to the place where he's already got one down, and now he's the first one to have multiple wins at COTA.
Yeah, and the driver that won COTA last year, Christopher Bell, ended up in 3rd place. He was the one we were talking backstage, Brandon. He almost opened the year with 3 in a row. He just missed the Daytona 500. I guess he would have gone 4 in a row if he could have picked up that one. But in between those 2 Toyota drivers, the guy that had won the last 5 road course races in a row, this race last year was the last time Shane Van Gisbergen didn't win on a road course, and comes up 1 spot short here once again yesterday. So, Brandon, first of all, I guess kind of as a segue between these 2 drivers, are you surprised at all that Tyler Reddick was able to outduel SVG, as it were? And we saw him win the O'Reilly Auto Parts race the day before on Saturday. Is that any consolation to SVG at this point in his career? Does it give him more confidence on Sundays, or do you look at this as a situation where it's a road course? We know how strong SVG is on those already. If he should be doing any O'Reilly races, maybe he needs to be doing some ovals to continue to get some laps there.
I think there might be some truth to that. It would do him better to have his O'Reilly Series events on the calendar at the ovals, but he's getting better at those too, so we do have to watch out. But yeah, I think with his 5 he had in a row, he's still really I think he's in a really good place on the road courses where he doesn't need that O'Reilly experience on Saturdays. But I think it sure did. It had to help him some, and of course taking the win, I guess it's some sort of consolation. Trophies are trophies, victories are victories, and I know Junior Motorsports appreciates it to have their first victory of the season, and they were putting all their chips into the folks that were getting to drive their race cars at Circuit of the Americas. You look at between him and Connor Zilic, they were bound to get something. They were going to be hunting a trophy. But yeah, hats off to Tyler Reddick for holding off the best in the game. Tyler Reddick showing that he's the current best in the game, but as far as road courses, Shane Van Gisbergen, to have him sniffing down your car for lap after lap after lap, he didn't really let him go, and it wasn't able to get too much distance away from him for quite a while. Um, it was silly because like I thought they were going to go all the way to the checkered, and then I saw Ross Chastain had something go amiss with his he had a tire go out, and I kept waiting for Fox to go back for a replay on the Ross Chastain incident that brought out the final yellow, and but they never went back to it. And so there for a little while I was thinking, man, if Shane Van Gisbergen comes back and wins this race, he has Ross Chastain to thank. But I definitely don't think that was intentional. That's not what I'm trying to imply. But it did for a while there. It did feel a little fishy.
Yeah. Well, so maybe you can help me on this one, Brandon. Full disclosure for everybody, I was at a track meet all day yesterday, so I didn't catch any of the Cup race live. But I saw some folks reacting on Twitter. Apparently, Mike Joy screamed "Whoa!" with a couple of laps left, and everybody was like they were expecting to see a car flipped over on fire.
Right.
With how he reacted, and it was really just it was probably the Ross incident there.
I think it was somebody else,
or was that somebody? Okay,
yeah. It was somebody else, and it was at towards the end, like with like 3 or 2 laps to go, and it was like, oh, well, thank goodness that's not a caution. I think it was Hocevar. It was Carson Hocevar.
That would
yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the darker ride the Dente scheme for this weekend, which I think looks excellent. But anyway, it was Hocevar, and also I was thinking at that point, like, wouldn't it be just appropriate if Hurricane Hocevar was the one to throw it all away, and we have to go to overtime for some silly reason after all of that?
Yeah, well, it was a race of very low attrition. Looking at the results here, Hocevar was 31st, and there were still 2 cars in the lead lap after him, Austin Cindric and Zane Smith. Ross Chastain ended up 35th. How would you like to be Ross Chastain? You're only 2 laps down, but at a track like COTA, that leaves you 35th out of 37. The only car that failed to finish the race was Chase Briscoe, who had a great qualifying effort in third. You can check out the Last Car article on Briscoe this week, I guess, if you want to hear more about how his day went. Alex Bowman listed in 36th. We'll talk a little bit more about that situation a little bit later, because it wasn't him crossing the finish line there. But yeah, I mean, and an interesting dynamic too, like you mentioned, Brandon, with Connor Zilic and SVG, both Trackhouse drivers in the Cup Series, I guess, being loaned out to Junior Motorsports and that program for the O'Reilly race. Obviously, the program Connor Zilic knows very well. I guess the people's champion last year, if you will, should have won the championship with how dominant he was in that 88 car in 2025. And SVG as well has run very strong in the Xfinity / O'Reilly opportunities that he's gotten with JRM. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's interesting. I know I caught a little bit of the Grid Rising show. I know our friends Matthew and Tanner were talking about this tonight as well. But again, you know where I stand on the issue of Cup drivers in the lower series. And I think this came up in the Icebergs chat in his live stream and probably Brock's as well. But I've always said, listen, it's not just a Kyle Busch issue for me. I think it's either all or nothing. And I don't like the fact that they've been trending more towards the easing of the restrictions this year. But to be quite honest with you, seeing Connor Zilic and SVG out there, to me, as somebody who values consistency that much, I have just as much a problem with that from that perspective as I do when it's a guy like Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson or whoever else. I mean, Ross Chastain, I guess. I mean, the Chastain situation is a little bit different because he's driving for a team like Jordan Anderson Racing, but the principle is still you're a full-time Cup Series driver, you're earning Cup Series points, you are a Cup driver for that year. And I think anytime we see somebody dip below into either O'Reilly or trucks, it's kind of a slippery slope that opens up that side of things here. So but like I said, I don't blame the drivers for it. The rules are the rules. It allows them to run back up to 10 races a year is where we're at now. So I understand from a confidence perspective, it probably does make more sense for SVG to run these road course races and probably finish in the top 3 at the very least and get a good result in his resume there. But for the long run, I think experience-wise, even though the next gen car doesn't have nearly as much overlap with the lower series as it used to, would probably be better for his development here in North American stock car racing here for the Cup Series if he were to go ahead and run some oval races instead there. So we'll see what his schedule looks like the rest of the year, how many of these he ends up doing if they add any races to his schedule. But I've got a feeling that this is probably going to be the blueprint going forward for both him and Connor Zilic, however many races he ends up doing in that car this year. He certainly had an eventful race.
I was about to say, we need to talk about Connor Zilic.
Yeah. So 14th in the Cup race, and then 21st in the O'Reilly race after winning the pole for that one. But yeah, that was an unfortunate deal. And obviously what happened with Corey Day there at the end of the O'Reilly race. And again, I know Matthew and Tanner were talking about this tonight as well. I don't know. I've never met the kid. It's nothing personal. I'm sure he's trying. I don't think any of this has been, too malicious, in terms of intent or anything. I don't think he's meant to. I don't think he just had it in his mind, like, I'm going to go clean Connor Zilic out or any of these drivers that he's made contact with. But I have struggled to find reason to hop on the Corey Heim. No, I am on the Corey Heim hype train. No, that's misspeaking.
I just can't find a reason.
Yeah, no, Corey.
Why? I don't see Heim time.
Corey Heim should be racing on Sundays. He should have been racing on Sundays years ago.
Yeah, he should have already been there. Yeah.
Corey Day. The Corey Day hype train. I put Day and hype together, and Heim came out. So my apologies, but I know Corey Day has been very highly rated. Coming up through the lower ranks here, and I'm sure has a tremendous amount of talent and speed behind the wheel. But he kind of feels like a dart without feathers to me at this point in his career. I feel like almost as often as not, when he's made these, O'Reilly and truck starts, you drove very good equipment in ARCA, Pinnacle, Inspire, never broke into victory lane at that level. Just struggled to find reason to believe in him at this stage in his career, but he's ready for this series. I think unpolished is probably the best word for him. I think ARCA is probably where he should still be at this moment. But Brandon, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, he definitely is a promising talent, but I didn't see too much of him of what he's being accused of this weekend. I guess to lay a solid opinion on it, but I mean, from what I've seen of him, he's a nice guy, talented race car driver. I'm not sure I can lay too much on it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a matter of inexperience. I think it'll just come with time here, but he definitely needs to work on, not finding himself in these situations nearly as often as he has been, because
that just comes with experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but it's been pretty much every week to start the year. But like I said, he's got speed, and when he puts it together, he's fourth at Atlanta to start the year, fifth on Saturday. He did have a couple of top fives in the Spire truck last year, but yeah, still looking to break into victory lane at this level. And again, like I said, I don't think the speed is the issue necessarily. I think that's why he's been rated as one of the top prospects. Certainly over at Hendrick Motorsports, they seem to believe in him. But he's got to work on finishing the deal and not making any enemies along the way here. But reminds me of a young and present day, if we're being honest as well, Carson Hocevar in many respects here. The speed is there, but can you work on not running people over?
Yeah, we've seen this movie before in quite a few drivers that are doing just fine now. But before we were talking about Carson Hocevar, just a few years ago, we were talking about Ross Chastain. It's the exact same cycle. You just pick a different face.
All right, from Texas to Florida now, we move over to St. Petersburg and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And I have to say, I think some people had their doubts putting trucks on a street course. They thought it might be a wreck fest, but I thought it was a very entertaining race weekend at St. Petersburg on the NASCAR Truck Series side of things at the very least. Layne Riggs ended up winning the race. Maybe a bit of a surprise there to some people, but Motorsport teammates Ty Majeski and Ben Rhodes right on his heel there at the end. There were concerns about fuel mileage. Chandler Smith and Caden Honeycutt, I think to the point we were just making a few minutes ago, if Corey Heim had been in that truck, I think he would have been ahead of the field by about 10 seconds this weekend. But Caden Honeycutt still with a very strong result as he continues to get acclimated to that Tricon team in fifth place. And like I said, Brandon, I think very solid race from an entertainment perspective. And got to give a call to Jimmy Hinch, as it were.
Yes.
James Hinchcliffe.
Top 10.
Yeah. Didn't look like he was going to get there. He kind of got bounced around quite a bit and got his welcome to stock car racing, or stock truck, I guess, in this case, moment there throughout the race, but was able to recover to a top 10, and then felt really bad for Dario Franchitti. Do not let 27th place tell the whole story there.
No,
Ended up
no.
losing the lap, had some mechanical issues there, had to come in for an unscheduled pit stop, and took him out of contention. But the man was going to finish him in top 10, 6th in stage 1, 8th in stage 2. So he picks up, I mean, not that it matters. This is obviously a one-off, but I guess you might as well declare for truck points. 18 points is a solid enough haul. It shows that he was running up front. They knew he was there. It's hard to miss him in that bright green Dollar Tree truck, but I had great company on the pit box with a 7-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson as acting crew chief this weekend. Brad, what was your reaction to what we saw this weekend? Because I got to tell you, from a entertainment perspective, I thought it was a great race, and so cool to see guys like James Hinchcliffe and Colin Brown out there as well in the free agent truck for Colleague and Ram, and of course Dario, to see him out there, just almost surreal 12 years after his full-time career came to an end.
What an unexpected schedule twist for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. You wouldn't think, we're already playing footsie a lot with IndyCar this year. I mean, we've got the Desert Double coming up next weekend, which I'm highly anticipating, as I'm sure you are too, watching at home. But what an unexpected addition to the schedule that you wouldn't really think would work out. But I wish I could have been there to see that, because I love the idea of big body stock cars or big trucks going around the tight constraints of the street course, and also making history for the Truck Series, the first time in their fairly young life to be on a street circuit. I think it really worked out, and it's especially when it comes to the curbing and things like that. With IndyCar, they can't mess with the curbs, or they're gonna, as you saw Joseph Newgarden in practice, if they just mess with it a little too much, they're going to be sent to the tire barrier. But the trucks, they can take it all they want, and the Craftsman Truck Series drivers who are full time, that are used to it, they really know how to take advantage of it. Where Dario Franchitti and Jimmy Hinch, maybe just their first time in the truck, more or less, they're maybe a little more hesitant on how big they can dig into the curbs, but the slow motion shots are just good stuff when you see a fast truck that knows how to take the curbs. But I think it made a really great race. I like the close, they don't have much room to operate, but in the passing zones they do have, they try to bump around each other. It made for a great race, and Layne Riggs and a winner you wouldn't expect, like you said, but I think it worked well, and it's good to have NASCAR and IndyCar just playing nice whenever you can take it. I just think it was nice to have them at a very hot beach setting in Florida. It was just a different look for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and I think it worked out well.
Good to see our friend Kobe in the chat here. For 52 years old, Dario Franchitti hasn't lost a step. Impressed with him. During the offseason, he ran in Dubai 24-hour to prepare for St. Pete. Never thought I'd see Dario race again after Houston. Yeah, certainly great to see him back out there. And again, I was texting my friends in the group chat I'm in, like, does it say more about, again, Dario or the field that he can hop in here? Essentially, I mean, I know, like Kobe mentioned, running the Dubai 24 to as a precursor, as if it were for the St. Pete race, but for him to be able to just basically go from 12 years on the couch, only doing some minor events here and there, if that, and then basically have one test session before you get in a series that you haven't raced in almost 2 decades in NASCAR here, to be able to run as well as he did, I think very, very impressive. But like I said, I think if Corey Heim had been in the field this weekend, I think the field should be thankful that he wasn't, because I'm sure he would have run away with it there with the talent that he has. But for the Truck Series, again, I thought for it to be the first time on a street course for them, I forget who it was in the pre-race. I remember Fox was showing some interviews that they did with a few of the drivers. I think it might have been Tyler Ankrum that said, they were asked, what do you think the St. Pete race is going to look like? And he just said a wreck fest, because there's no runoff area and everything on a street course. But again, I thought very, very strong race, and it'll be interesting to see, if they come back, and I hope they do, because I think it opened the door for drivers like Dario and James Hinchcliffe to come back here again. And Kobe also adding he's on the reserve entry list for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Wouldn't that be something if we saw him there too?
Yeah, he's still got it for sure.
Yeah, yes, he does.
Hey, Ryan.
Okay, I was going to say it looks like RC Cola.
RC Cola, yeah.
There you go. I guess you and Brandon know each other. NASCAR's fan survey asked about same Pete potential with O'Reilly or Cup, so it looks like the industry thought it was a success. Yeah, well, there you go. Again, I think that it's always interesting to see, because I know we had this at the IMS road course a couple of times as well. David Lamb would always say you don't see the same face twice. But I think that the consensus that I got from this weekend, and obviously trucks and Cup are, kind of different. There are different levels to that, but the fans loved, the IndyCar fans loved the Truck Series. They didn't love the fact that there were 2 pre-planned cautions with kind of wasting laps under yellow. And I was like, yeah, I think there's
it doesn't fly in their world, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't fly in our world either, if you ask me. But
yeah,
I don't know. Apparently it was boring as hell in 2023, seeing these long green flag runs and the restarts create excitement. I don't know. That's what I've been told, at least. That's why the stage breaks are back. But
well, I'm pretty sure Alex Palou is very glad that he doesn't have any stage breaks to deal with when he pulls away 7 seconds from the field.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. And Townsend Bell also in the booth for Fox Sports. Big Fox, by the way, this weekend. Truck Series getting that spotlight. Kobe says kudos to Townsend Bell for doing his homework. He was natural in the Truck Series booths. Yeah. Again,
that was big. Yeah.
Who does this? Again, it's the same kind of question. I'm asking about Dario here. Does it say more about Townsend or the rest of that booth that, Townsend was, I think, the strongest member of that booth on Saturday?
I hate to say it, but it was just refreshing to hear someone like Townsend Bell talk about the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in a way that felt cohesive and detailed, and I don't know. It felt refreshing and not in a good way. Like, great for Townsend, but also, yeah, if we had the IndyCar quality of analysis over with trucks on a weekly basis, it would do it a lot of good.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think, I've never understood the hate that Townsend gets. I know a lot of people seem to not love him in the booth. I don't know if it's just fatigue because he's been there a while, but I agree. I thought it certainly seemed like he did his homework. He knew what he was talking about for somebody that comes from the open wheel world to come into NASCAR and be in the booth to, I guess, kind of add to that crossover appeal and sound as strong as he did there. I think job well done. You got to give him all the credit in the world.
It was nice to hear him talk about good years.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Iceman adding here, as much flack as Fox gets, and rightly so, I question if we would have gotten St. Pete and Phoenix to race alongside NASCAR if it weren't for Fox covering IndyCar now. Yeah, I mean, again, you
Probably
got that coming
not.
up here as well this weekend. I think Fox has played a major role in that. TV, I think, plays sometimes too big of a role. I think I'd like to see, we went through this last week at Atlanta with the timed race in the Truck Series, because you had Fox has their window and the CW had their window, and I think a lot of fans were understandably upset, paying for a full race, if you bought a ticket and not getting that when, weather-wise, you certainly could have it. They just pushed the O'Reilly race back a little bit, but CW held their ground. We didn't want to do that. FS1 had the time slot, but they had caution taped off, if you will, I guess, for that series. They wanted to get the race in, in reasonable time, and that's just the decision that NASCAR had to make there. But then you get stuff like this, where it allows for that crossover. And good to see Jason in the chat here as well. Gentlemen, how do you grade trucks at St. Pete? I don't know. I mean, I'll give it between an A- and B+. I will say my friend Ethan Smith was working the weekend, doing the photography stuff that he does so well. And he said logistically, he thought they could have accommodated the Truck Series a little bit better, but I don't think they necessarily thought through those logistics as well. I think some of that probably comes with this being the first year that they've done something like this. I'm sure, hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, it'll be a better experience for everybody on that side of things if they come back again next year. But in terms of the on-track product that the fans saw, I think in the solid A to A minus range, no doubt.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a lot to come back for next year, Jason. I think it was a fantastic addition for the IndyCar weekend and for the IndyCar fans. It kind of reminded me of like pairing up at Long Beach Stadium super trucks, but without the jumps, which, add some more spring to these Craftsman Truck Series trucks. You might. No, I'm just kidding. No, forget I said that. That's absolutely a joke.
Oh, man. Well, now I'm starting to picture in my head.
No, please don't.
What does that look like there?
No, I don't want to see Tyler Ankrum 16 feet in the air.
All right. Well, before we move on to, well, I guess we can transition here, Brandon. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I don't have this on our sheet here, but
go for
Speed
it.
Freaks actually just posted a clip of. It looked like it was from Daytona 500 Media Day, actually. So I guess they were maybe holding this for a couple of weeks here as somebody's car alarm is going off right outside my apartment. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but
I can hear it. Yeah. No, I can't.
Well, hopefully, sounds like it's disappeared now. All right.
At least it's not snowplows.
Yeah. We had that too the other week. And you got another one here, Brandon.
Let it ride.
Like to see that, but
yeah.
Getting back to Speed Freaks posted a clip of Brad Keselowski at Media Day for Daytona a couple weeks ago. I guess they were holding this for the weekend where we got Coda and St. Pete on the same couple of days here. Brad was saying from an owner's perspective, he didn't see the need for so many road courses on the schedule. We're down to 4 this year for the Cup Series, if you can believe it. We've been at 6 the last couple of years, but no Mexico City this year and no Roval. That race is getting converted back to the Oval after the schedule had already been announced, which I wasn't particularly a fan of. I'm a fan of going back to the Oval, particularly in the next gen era, but
we're down to 4?
We are down to 4. We just did Coda. We got Sonoma.
Wow. I did not realize it was that low.
Watkins Glen and the street race in San Diego. So
wow.
We are back, so Brad was saying that road courses have the lowest attendance. They tend to have the lowest ratings, and they haven't put on the best show, especially in the next gen era. And so from his perspective, he thinks we should be prioritizing the ovals. And I personally think that we moved too far in the other direction in recent years. I think 2 is not enough. I think 6 was starting to push. I mean, I think 6 is the absolute maximum that we need to be at. And if we're going to do 6, I want real road courses, by the way. It's not an excuse like it was in the 2010s where you got contracts in one of the tracks. You have to convert the second Charlotte race to a road course. We can do real road course races at this point if we're going to.
There's plenty of real permanent road course facilities that need some love.
They've proven it with what they've done with the schedule in recent years. I like the 4 that we're at now. I don't know that. I mean, again, nothing against the fans in Austin, Texas here. I don't know that we need to be at Circuit of the Americas, at least not on an annual basis. I would love to go back to Mexico City. I'd love to go up to our neighbors of the north, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and get back to Montreal, give Montreal a cup date.
Yeah.
But I think the medium, splitting the difference, if you will, 2 not being enough, 6 being too many. I like having 4 where we're at now. I think it's a good place to end up. But Brandon, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that one as well.
No, not too much to add. I just the biggest thing for me is just the shock. I can't believe we were down to 4 now for 26, because I can remember just last year. It's like, we're at a good number now. We're at whatever it was, 6 or 7, and no, I did not do that on purpose. I did not. Jason, the NOAPS car more fun than Cup on the road course events. That is true. That's definitely true, because they've got a lot more bounce in the way they behave around the corners, and the Cup car still has a lot left to be desired on the road courses. But Coda did okay, did its job. It wasn't as big of a momentum killer as I was afraid it was going to be, but I think it did its job. But yeah, definitely the Grand National car it puts on a lot more fun show at times on the road courses, just because of how more boxy it is, I guess. It's not made to maneuver, more like a GT car.
Yeah, well, and again, to the point of, you said it's Ryan, right? I want to make sure I'm
right. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We do the 24-hour races together on iRacing. Yeah, it's all part of his team.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for being here, Ryan. And I agree. I think I was a fan of actually shortening the course. I know we did the full layout when we were first going to COTA for the first few years. But I mean, again, I feel like when you're an American F1 fan, you're used to seeing those cars speed around there. I mean, that perception probably doesn't help, in terms of the cars looking slow.
Yeah, makes you look like a supporter series.
Yeah, yeah, and to be quite honest, and this is, I think, the complaint that some people had when IndyCar went there once upon a time. When you're sharing the track, when you're at the same track that Formula One goes to, you are kind of the supporter series because it gets no bigger. They are the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Whether we want to admit it or not.
They don't have to be there. We already know you're slower.
Exactly. All right. Well, before we come back to St. Pete here, let's back up to COTA. Gotta give a couple of guys a shout out here. A couple of reserve drivers. There are now 2 men in sports you do not bet against: Christopher Beltram Hernandez, JJ Yeley, and Brad Perez filling in for Christopher Beltram Hernandez, JJ Yeley. Yeley was not feeling well during the O'Reilly race on Saturday, and Brad had his fire suit ready to go, got changed real quick, and hopped in an O'Reilly car for the first time this year in a relief effort. So good for him. But then he got to share this moment on yesterday. This is a text that he got from Myatt Snyder. As soon as you can, what is the breaking point for the turn off the S's at COTA? Like right at or slightly before the last tire stack in the right, turn 6A. Okay, thanks. Kind of odd thing because you're constantly decelerating, then picking up right before moderate brake with some wheel in it. Got it. So you got to worry about lockup. Yeah, the right front gets light and you're also at the curb and transitioning off it. Copy, thank you. And you got to roll a good amount of speed in there so you can't brake hard. Brad quoting or tweeting this out, tweeting the screenshots, just saying, the reason he sent this out is because the reason Myatt was texting him, Alex Bowman was not feeling well yesterday and ended up having
step up to the plate.
Parked the car in the garage. They made a driver change, and Myatt was pit spotting for pit reporter Jamie Little and ended up grabbing his fire suit and helmet for the first time this year and hopping in a Cup car to make his unofficial Cup Series debut. Again, Yeley and Bowman get the credit for the results this week. As we all know, the driver that starts the race gets credit for the finish. But still very cool to see Myatt especially get an opportunity like that to run a Cup car. Like I mentioned in the results, because the race had so little attrition, he does end up finishing second to last, the last of the cars running. And of course, he was at the disadvantage already of a couple of laps because obviously it took time to make the driver change, getting Bowman out of there and putting Myatt Snyder in. I wish there would have been a little bit more media availability and Fox would have followed up on that because it sounded like they kind of tried to keep things under wraps, they being Hendrick, and didn't disclose too much of the situation. Certainly hope Alex is feeling all right. I did see that he got released from the infield care center, as well as AJ Allmendinger, who soldiered on to a 9th place finish.
Stretcher, man.
I got to tell you, man, I have lost track. I feel like it's at least 3 times now that his cool suit has failed in recent years with that colleague team. So I don't know what's going on with those things. But it's kind of like there's a risk reward factor to wearing those things because, the benefit, obviously, if you wear them, it's a massive bit of relief there in terms of temperature. But
if it fails,
it's actually worse than not having it at all because the water in the cool suit is now hot. It gets
you become a lobster.
Makes you hotter than you'd be without it. So certainly a scary situation there following the race, but thankful that he was okay. And he ended up tweeting as well that he was all good shortly after that. So certainly hope all those guys are feeling better, got some fluids in them, and are going to be recovered in time for Phoenix this weekend. But it did lead to some great opportunities for not just for Brad, obviously, but Myatt Snyder this weekend as well. Really, who could have expected that? But a great opportunity nonetheless.
Also circling around, I think Kyle Larson's that was a big story too. His cool suit also wasn't working, so they were just throwing ice packs on him throughout the race. And also Brad Keselowski, of course, his femur still causing him to have to walk with a cane. Backup driver Joey Hand was on hand, no pun intended, but he didn't need him. But Brad Keselowski, he stayed out there and was a trooper, finishing 20th, but he's still, he's a tough dude. He's still getting back into the rhythm.
Was that NASCAR Chasm that tweeted that? Like, why do they have Joey Hand on standby if it's Brad's leg that's injured? We should have Catherine Legg on standby, right? What's that?
I didn't see that, but that's classic NASCAR Chasm. So.
I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure. If it wasn't NASCAR Chasm,
man, that's a good joke.
But yeah, I saw that one was making the rounds this weekend as well. But
dang it,
yes,
good joke.
Yeah. All right. Indy 22. Thank you, Iceman. Indy 22. I remember that one sometime last year. I think other drivers in Dakota 26. So yeah, I mean, it's not just my imagination. It's been multiple times now that he's had that happen. So certainly hope they can get that situation figured out, because whatever cool suits they're using do not seem to be very reliable here. All right. You guys know where I am with IndyCar these days. I will certainly defer to Brandon a little bit more on that. I did check out the results. I couldn't have watched yesterday's race if I wanted to, like I said, because I was at the meet all day. But Alex Palou, is he just? I mean, I know. We just said, we know Reddick's won the first 3 races. It's not championship over yet by a long shot. We're race 1. I feel like Joseph Newgarden last year telling Bob Pockrass like it's race 1, dude, right? But when it's this guy, Alex Palou here, has won 4 of the last 5 championships, and you see what he did, winning by looks like 12.5 seconds, if I'm doing the math right, looking at these results here. On Sunday at St. Pete, leading 59 of 100 laps. I mean, is there any doubt that he's gonna just cakewalk to a title again? Can anybody stop him?
That's what they wanted to figure out over the offseason. What do we have to do to stop Chip Ganassi Racing and their golden boy Alex Palou? They changed the paint scheme a little bit to look less like NASCAR Racers, that old cartoon from way back when. But he's still just really bad fast. The top 8, they were only on a 2-stop strategy for the race. And Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Christian Lundgaard, top 3 on the podium. McLaughlin, still your top guy at Penske. Joseph Newgarden had the incident in practice, and but also it's interesting to see the new face in the 12 car with David Malukas. That was the rumor towards the end of the 2025 season, and sure enough, it comes true. Not a great start for Will Power with his first debut with Andretti Global back in 22nd. Scott Dixon had the wheel issue towards the beginning, and you mentioned earlier Mick Schumacher, his debut with IndyCar, bottom of the field in that lap 1 incident. That was a 3-car pileup. But usually St. Pete, it's kind of like that race gets over with, and then we've got this whole break of like, wow, there's nothing. I wish IndyCar would come back, but we got Arlington coming up so quickly. So I think it's good that we've got one coming up so soon instead of waiting an entire month. Granted, the schedule this year, the entire month of April has nothing going on. So I guess you kind of trade it for somewhere else, but change the points format or the new IndyCar chassis. That'll be the only way that they can stop Alex Palou. I believe he's.
Yeah, I think Jason's answering the question there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's well on his way for another one here and another Indianapolis 500 champion title if he's lucky. But they've got to change this car.
The ironic thing is the one year he didn't win the title in this stretch, 2022. He won the last race at Laguna Seca. So I suppose if they went full NASCAR playoffs, Palou would have gotten that one that way. But then I don't know. I don't think he would have gotten all 4 of the ones that he's actually won. So there is that trade-off there. But yeah, desperately need a new chassis here. I think we still on for 28. Is that still on schedule?
I hope so. Chevrolet and Honda, of course, made the big news before race 1 that they're back in it for a good haul. But yeah, hopefully 28. We'll see.
I'm going to disagree with this. I think winning should be rewarded a little bit more than increments like that. I like where they're at now. I think that my biggest complaint with the NASCAR system is it's still 1 point per position, except for the race win, which is 15, which is such a massive number. Which again, I appreciate they made that change, and I understand what they're trying to do to ensure stage points and everything, that the driver who wins the race is actually the one that leaves the track with the most points on a weekly basis. But yeah, I think I appreciate that gives more of a buffer from first to second than it does from 21st to 22nd. I like that, but I like what they had now. I think winning is rewarded very, very generously in the IndyCar series, and I'd like to see it stay that way here. Ryan adding, at this point, Alex Palou isn't going to lose a race with the exception of divine intervention, like rain for 2 minutes on a sunny day in Milwaukee. Enjoy the dominance before the new chassis in 28. Yeah, I mean, you have to.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Gotta embrace it. It's a generational run. He's exactly right. There's no stopping it. Appreciate the rookies we've got here too. Dennis Hauger and Kyle Collette for AJ Foyt. You gotta enjoy them being here, and also Romain Grosjean coming back to the series after being gone for a while, after having to leave the spot that the current champion is in now.
Yeah, Iceman adding on here, I beg to differ. Newgarden had the 5th best average finish in 22, almost won the championship. Will Power had just 1 win. Well, again, but that, I think that's why I think that's actually proof that this is a good balance, because, you know, I don't think, obviously the playoffs are, you know, as goofy as they were. I think that's I don't think that rewards anything other than, you know, just spinning a roulette wheel like we saw, you know, what happened in Final Laps of Phoenix this past year. But you know, I think the champion shouldn't just automatically be who has the best average finish either. I think you should be rewarded quite heavily for winning races, but it shouldn't be an automatic ticket to the next round or an automatic ticket to a championship. I mean, Ryan Newman won 8 races in 2003. This is the example that the playoff defenders love to use, right? He won 8 races, but he was so up and down that a guy who, much like Will Power, only had 1 win in 22, Matt Kenseth only had 1 win in 03 in the NASCAR Cup Series, and he still won the championship anyway. So, and average finish, like you mentioned here with Power, was a major part in making that happen. So, yeah, I mean, again, I like the IndyCar point system. I'm sure there could be a couple of tweaks made to it that wouldn't be too bad. But again, I'm just thankful we don't do double points at the finale anymore. I think that was if it weren't for the fact that the NASCAR playoffs existed for so many years, double points, I understand them at like crown jewel races and everything, but double points at the Indy 500, I understand them more, I should say, at the Indy 500 than the season finale. Right. That was like when the season finale, especially when it was at a place like Sonoma or Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
Because there was a while where we had like the Triple Crown was back, right? You had the Indy 500, the Pocono 500, and the Fontana 500. And if you want to say even if you want to say all of those are double points, like I think that's really starting to push into the gimmicks as well. But I at least understand that, and it just happens. Fontana happens to be the season finale, then that's fine. But making Sonoma double points, like that's just, I don't know. That always felt quite gimmicky to me. You could reward winning with prize money instead, in my opinion. Season-long performance should be rewarded more, but I respect your opinion and see your point. See, there you go. What a novel concept, right? Respect different opinions on the internet.
Opinion? You can't do that. This is the internet.
Yeah. Not winning your in. Yeah. Well, as long as we don't go back to that. I mean, that was just as getting rid of that was just as important to me as getting rid of the multiple resets in the playoff era. But let's not use that. You don't play racing, right? Like this conversation actually, this came up. I heard a couple of our track athletes talking about this. Like they say, like, you know, some of their classmates or friends don't follow track and field, don't know very much about it, and they're like, oh, what do you play in track? What do you do? And they're like, we don't play. We compete. We race. We throw. We jump. Like, you don't play racing.
Yeah,
it's a very serious sport. There's no playing going on here. So we can retire that name for good here.
Yeah, we've fought that point for 4 years.
Yes. All right. Want to talk some F1 here. We got Australia coming up soon here. And
first time on track will be this Thursday.
Yeah.
Or our time. Yeah.
It is 2015 all over again. How'd you like to be Fernando Alonso, man?
I would not want to be Fernando Alonso. That's the answer. Because yeah.
Yeah, no, you win a couple championships 20 years ago and look like you're on a pathway to be one of the all-time greats in the stat book and everything. And then you end up at Ferrari and you're dealt with some of the worst cars at the time that Ferrari had put together in recent memory, and still almost win a couple of championships with those. And then we get to 2014 with the new regulations and a car that is infamous for oversteering and understeering at the same time. But then you come back to McLaren, new partnership with Honda, reminiscing on the glory days with Senna and Prost in that era, and you think everything's going to be great. And man, 2015 in particular, 2017, it got so bad that he said, screw the Monaco Grand Prix, I'm going to go run the Indy 500. And then ironically, his Honda engine failed him there. McLaren switched to Renault at 2018, but by that point, the damage was already done. He takes a sabbatical for a couple of years, goes and runs some endurance races, does the Indy 500 a couple more times. And then now he's back after stints at Alpine and the previous incarnation of Aston Martin. And now Honda is coming back in with that team. Adrian Newey's here. And they are preparing to basically start and park the Australian Grand Prix. I mean, you can't make this up. And while he was gone, and elsewhere in other teams in F1 as well, Honda was off winning championships with Max Verstappen and Red Bull.
With Red Bull, yeah.
They were terrible when they came back in and Fernando was there, and then they go to Red Bull, they win championships, and now he's back with Honda. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You literally can't. I mean, listen, I've always said, I don't have a problem with starting parking, all right? I welcome starting parks in ARCA, in the Truck Series. I've always said it's a non-competitive non-issue, right? Like, the only people that even seem to notice they're there half the time are guys like myself and the Brock Beards of the world that are writing Alaska articles about them. But we love the underdogs. We love the stories of these teams that can't even afford to pay the full tire bill for the weekend and hope to maybe go out and have a good run once a year when they have a chance to run the full race. And that business model that has been questioned in the past, it's kind of gone extinct now in the charter era, at least in particular with the Cup Series. But this is Formula One, man. This is the pinnacle. This is a world champion. This is one of the greatest designers of all time, and a team that seemingly with somebody like Lawrence Stroll, you would imagine is not wanting for cash, right? And here we are. This is, I mean...
Well, the first problem was when they didn't show up to Barcelona, to Catalonia for the first couple of days of the test before the test. They're just a no-show to the first day of school. But yeah, you think with all the money bag resources they've got there, with the Stroll family and Aramco and everything backing that Aston Martin program, to start and park round one, it's crazy.
I got to tell you, it was a bad omen, I think, when the live stream kept crashing, the car launch. And then you heard Lance Stroll say we're 4.5 seconds off the pace. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I thought they might struggle for points at the start of a year. I thought the Honda engine might be a little unreliable. But this is from motorsport.com here. This is what their article that went live today says. The Aston Martin Formula One team has fallen into a dark hole in no small part because of Honda. The AMR 26's Honda engine has been so unreliable that the Silverstone-based outfit failed to carry out its preseason testing program. There you go, Brandon. Spending more time in the garage than out on track. Honda is completely unprepared for the Australian Grand Prix, with multiple engine failures in Bahrain jeopardizing spare parts supplies to the extent that Aston Martin considered skipping Melbourne by invoking force majeure. But this would have been a PR disaster for F1 as its new technical era begins, and Aston would have had to pay compensation for breaking the Concord Agreement's terms. The AMR 26s will be in Australia, but only intend to make the 107% rule to qualify for the grid and race a few laps before retiring. They are literally planning to start and park the Australian Grand Prix.
Planning to.
For that here in NASCAR. I never thought, who would have thought that we'd see start and parking in Formula One? What's the reason for the retirement going to be? I mean, I guess you would say engine.
Engine,
yeah. An engine failure. You quit before the engine fit. They would they would rather start and park than risk having a mechanical or an engine failure and not having the spare parts to fix it. That's where they're at.
Oh, no, that is so not right. I just wonder if they can make China. Are they going to be ready? It's in a week's. It's a week's time after that.
Yep. Iceman saying at least he'll be able to compete in the season opener of his time, unlike 2015. Yeah. Well, I guess you do have to consider that. We're thankful that Fernando is healthy enough to be able to be fit to compete rather. Obviously, he had that testing incident in 2015, but yeah, a lot. Hey, I'd welcome it. Alonso back to IndyCar.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't understand why he ever went back. I would have gone full time. I remember it was Motorsports. Like, I think it was David Malsher that wrote that like open letter to Fernando and said, "See you in St. Pete, I hope." I would have gone full time in IndyCar years ago and gone all in on trying to complete the Triple Crown. But he seemed to want to be back in F1 badly enough, and now he's in his mid-40s and still. I mean, I thought this was maybe going to be the year if they could nail the new regulations, bring Adrian Newey in here, and maybe this would be a year where there were some growing pains. But by 27, maybe that he could go out on top. It would be a great story, but it doesn't look like they're anywhere near that right now. Jason adding maybe Fernando is the problem. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of bad timing involved here, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, I'm seeing Fernando back in a Honda is strange enough. I mean, I thought that bridge would have been burned permanently after 2017 for sure. But and Kobe brings up a good point as well. F1 teams were worried about Cadillac / Andretti not being prepared for the pinnacle of motorsport if Aston Martin run a few laps and retire both cars. Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. That is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
F1 this weekend does have potential for an absolute PR nightmare with the new regulations. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to hold full judgment until we see the product on track. But we frequently do this, I feel like. Just like 2021, aside from the controversy at the end of the year, all-time classic season, Mercedes and Red Bull right next to each other. Not just with Lewis and Max. I think people forget this, but Mercedes edged Red Bull out for the constructors, like Valtteri and Checo, who are now Cadillac teammates, ironically, were neck and neck all year too. And so the constructors was just as close as the drivers. And right as we had that great historic season, we changed regulations. I feel like every time we get close, like McLaren and Red Bull last year with both of their drivers and Max Verstappen, thought the racing was pretty good on several occasions last year and was probably on track to only get better. And we insist on changing it up here.
Yeah, I think NASCAR kind of follows that mold too. The generation of car, it starts to get better and better and better and better. Then before you know it, hey, it's time to build a new one.
Yeah, Kobe asks here, what if Aston Martin can't reach the 107% rule at Albert Park? That's a great question. I would imagine that they could file some sort of a claim. That term is on the tip of my tongue. What would you say? That it file for an exception or something like that. I feel like that's happened with some of these minnow teams in the past before, where they haven't been within 107%, didn't meet that rule, but were allowed to compete anyway, so that you could still fill the grid. I mean, I have a very hard time seeing them denying Fernando Alonso the opportunity to be on the grid in Australia, but and we'll see. I mean, it again, Lance Stroll saying they're 4.5 seconds off the pace isn't exactly encouraging, but it sounds like that's the least of their troubles here. It's reliability that is their main concern here. So hopefully they can at least go hard for a couple of laps in qualifying. And I doubt they're going to get out of Q1, but hopefully they can at least be within 107% there. Because if they can't even do that, then that's just as embarrassing as starting parking, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm ready for FP1, and to add that to a part of the Motorsport Monday talk is finally getting to these new regulations that we've just had so many question marks over, that are, for better or worse, we're going to get our answers, and especially about Aston Martin.
Yeah, Jason says, I saw Alonso and all the Michelin drivers park at the United States Grand Prix at Indy, not even a starting park. Yeah, I don't know what you would
box immediately.
That's a very unique situation there, but sorry to hear that. I didn't realize you were I guess
were you there?
I guess you could be saying
on
TV.
On
TV, but yeah, let us know, Jason, if you're still watching, if you were actually there that day, because I'd be
Yeah.
interested to get your perspective on that. If you were, I apologize, because that was social media. I think Facebook was still in its infancy in 2005. That might have been the only one that was even around then, and even back then, I think
It was
maybe
a year old. Yeah,
a Harvard experiment with Zuckerberg and everything. But the point being, like nowadays, you couldn't keep that a secret. Like everybody in the stands would know ahead of time something like that were happening, because everybody has one of these in their hands. But
well, the
yeah, there you
stands
go.
they let their frustration known. I mean, they booed it.
Yeah. So, yeah, my apologies, because that was I'm sure that was not fun. Yeah. If F1 has the worst case scenario this weekend, I hope it forces the FIA and F1 to give up hybrids. And yeah, we haven't even talked about this yet, but a lot of the teams talking about having to use temporary fuel here, and I think it was the teams using the Ferrari engines seem to be okay. They've had their fuels approved, but that could be a whole nother PR nightmare for Formula One this weekend. So we'll have to wait and see there. Kobe adding, BBC Sports said when Adrian Newey came to Aston Martin, he wanted to have a complete redesign of the 2026 car, which also put the team on the back foot. Yeah, I mean, again, I think the more I think about it, not too surprising that this would maybe be a year of some growing pains, and you would say 27 is when we really start to see the Newey effect take effect at Aston Martin, if you will. But not starting parking in an F1.
That's not the answer. No,
that's just, yeah. I mean, who would have thought that we'd be talking about that here? All right. Before we go here, should also mention Orca West kicked off their season this weekend. Jade Avedisian qualifying on pole. Unfortunately faded to 8th during the race, but a good start to her ARCA campaign. Haley Deegan, 6th place in her return with the McAnally team. But got to give a shout out to Mason Massey. Well-deserved race victory. Bet on himself to take this opportunity, and saw Tommy Joe Martins talking about how well of a job he had done for them at Alpha Prime. And again, I think some people might see it as a step backward going down to a level like this, but imagine pulling into victory lane is probably better for your confidence than running 20th in mid-pack equipment. Again, no disrespect to Alpha Prime or Tommy Joe, because they do the best they can with what they have, and they're punching above their weight this weekend as well. Got to give a shout out to Brendan Poole on a top 10 run for that 44 car. But for Mason to come out here and get this victory on debut in the ARCA series, job well done to him, and we'll wait and see how he continues to do the rest of the year. But massive congratulations to him here. Good to see Adam in the chat popping in with this comment. Can and will Haley Deegan win in ARCA West this year? Well, the McAnally team is off to a good start with their 19 car winning this weekend, so we know the equipment is certainly there for her. I would like to think she could be in contention. I mean, obviously it's been a year and a half since she ran any stock car races, so I'm sure there's going to be a readjustment period. She kind of has to unlearn everything that she learned in the Indy Next car, which while she was unlearning the stock car stuff, now she has to relearn that. So we'll give her a couple races for sure to get up to speed here. But I'd hope, you got 13 races this year for ARCA West, but you could see her. I mean, I think her personal goals of 3 to 4 race wins in a championship, I think, are a little ambitious, but would like to think you could see her competing for some top 3s, if not some victories in the second half of the year for sure. All right, so that's ARCA West kicking off their season. We got a combo race with Big ARCA and ARCA West coming up this week at Phoenix. A strong 40-car entry list, 32 get in on speed, and then the rest are provisionals. But I believe, I think all 40 cars are going to be able to start this race, so shouldn't see any DNQs there. We'll finish up with some other sports news here. Tough weekend for my Philly sports teams. Sixers and Union both losing to our biggest rivals, Celtics and New York City FC, respectively. So that one hurt. I don't know, Brandon, what are your thoughts on anything else going on in the sports world right now? We've got the Olympics wrapped up last week, so Team USA pulling in a good medal count there. But what's going on in your neck of the woods when it comes to the sports that you follow?
I'm still in the weeds of high school basketball, and whenever I can watch things, it's Motorsport. But I did catch a little bit of MLS with this Apple TV subscription, and saw the Sunday night game with Inter Miami and Orlando. Orlando was up 2-0, and And they were up 2-0 at halftime, and then Inter Miami came in, and Messi got his first goal of the year. And when I stopped watching it, Inter Miami was up 4-2. So like, just made a utter complete comeback, and it was incredible in Orlando.
Yeah, I think I saw today that he was a player of the match day throughout all of MLS. So good for him. Not too surprising, obviously, greatest of all time. Adam, World Baseball Classic starts this week. Yeah, I saw.
Yes, thank you, Adam.
I believe Bryce Harper was being interviewed by Pat McAfee today, and talking about how I think Team USA baseball has been inspired by Jack Hughes and what the hockey team did, what the hockey teams did as well. Obviously, we talked about that last week, and that was interesting too. I saw. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live yet this week, but I saw they had Megan Keller and Hillary Knight open up, and then they had the Hughes brothers on either side of them, and jokingly, lightheartedly referencing the phone call that we talked about last week, and saying it was just going to be us, but we thought the men should be here as well. So again, I think it sounds like the teams are on good terms with each other, and if that's the case, then that's good enough for me. Again, I think that it was a teachable moment for the men's team, and I see my analytics. The dislikes aren't public anymore on YouTube, but I certainly I lost a couple subscribers, and I got some thumbs down for the clip I posted last week. I could care less. I'm well over 2,300, and we don't do this for the subscribers or the views anyway here. But if you're gonna be that offended by me saying, "Hey, we should give women's sports a shout out when they accomplish something great, like winning a gold medal at the Olympics, for crying out loud," then I could care less if you stay subscribed or not. But yeah, so that starts this week as well. We'll see. Man, I was just thinking today, we have, you think of the major sports in North America here, the big four, if you will. Obviously, you have the World Baseball Classic, and baseball is kind of on the recurring Olympic sports list. I guess they've brought it back for Tokyo, not for Paris, but it'll be back, I believe, for LA when we host it. But basketball's there every year, hockey's there every year, and our men's and women's Team USA basketball teams both won gold in Paris, and our men's and women's Team USA hockey teams both won gold in Milan for the Winter Olympics here. So we currently hold all four of those gold medals. That's pretty special.
That is really nice. Yeah. Coming to
and
America in 28.
Yeah, for sure. And I know it's a little bit different in basketball. I mean, we have dominated basketball for so long; it's expected in that sport. But to have those goals in hockey for the first time ever too is very special. So well done, Team USA. A little bit of game show news for that part of the audience. I don't know if anybody from that side of my analytics is here tonight, but John Michael Higgins and Game Show Network were teasing some stuff over the weekend, and America Says is back. One of my all-time favorite GSN originals, and this will be a nice segue into my weekly video updates where I am with that. Working on a top 10 GSN originals list. I had gotten that comment back in the day, as well as I found combing through looking for the old comments asking me to do the Carney Wilson Unstapled review. So a couple years late on that one as well, but I've got that coming, and I'm going to have to actually go ahead and re-record some audio for that, because I didn't see this announcement coming, but there's going to be some more episodes of America Says coming out here in the month of April. So certainly looking forward to that. And then still working through my rewatch as well of the entire 2007 Busch Series season, and working on that story as well. It's kind of taken on an even bigger life of its own than I anticipated when I first came up with the idea for the subject, but certainly know how Brock Beard feels now. And I think we've talked about this the last couple of weeks as well, but I think sometimes people ask, it's been months since you uploaded the last 500 days episode, are you still working on the series? And I think the answer to that is always yes, but when your videos are as detailed as Brock's are, and what I want to do with this project that I'm working on right now, the more you get into your research, the more notes and nuggets you pick up that you didn't even know that you were looking for, and you want to make sure all of that is included and told in the story as well. So stay tuned for that. Probably looking at a summer release for that one at the absolute earliest. But rest assured, I am still making progress and working on that here. So
good.
Before we go, Brandon, I don't know if you want to jump in on any of those topics before we go into our final thoughts, but what else are you looking forward to the rest of the week and as we head to Phoenix this weekend?
I think that just about wraps it up. I'm looking forward to this desert double, the double in the desert. I tell you what, that's what's coming. And Fox is really excited about it because they are currently with the two organizations that are going to be taken to the track. So I really hope it's successful for all parties, and it brings a lot of fans to the racetrack. IndyCar gets the big Saturday paired with O'Reilly, and then Cup gets Sunday. But still, I think everybody wins whenever these two series in America are together.
For sure. All right. A couple of things before we go. Just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to the Pistone family. We got the news today, but we lost Chase Pistone, I believe the grandson of Tiger Tom. Far too young. He made a couple of starts, or a handful of starts, I should say, in trucks and what was done nationwide at the time in the late 2000s, early 2010s. So I want to send our best to that family. And again, anybody that needs help out there, resources, 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline. Just absolutely awful news getting that today. So certainly want to send our best to them. And as well as Kaylee Bryson, she was involved in a road accident today. She put the tweet out there, and I think some stuff on her Snapchat as well, going into a little bit further detail. Sounded like she was just doing about 45 on the freeway there, and had a drunk driver going at least twice her speed, probably a little bit more. Rear end her. Fortunately, she and her dog were not too seriously hurt, and they were able to get that situation sorted. So thankful that they are, relatively speaking, going to be okay. But certainly want to send my best out to them as well, and thankful that the situation was not worse than it ended up being. And I hope to see her back in the ARCA series at some time this year. I know she made her Trans Am debut in the top TA class this week, so I believe she finished 5th at Sebring. So solid start to her season over there. But would love to see her back in an ARCA car at some point this year, and try to build on the 3 starts that she made last season. So we'll keep an eye out on that as well. But yeah, in the meantime, Brandon, we'll have plenty to talk about next weekend. Like you said, the doubleheader, Phoenix should be a success. If this St. Pete doubleheader was any indication, hopefully we can keep the crossover going between both sides of the motorsports fan base there.
Yeah, sure thing. And Formula One starting up in Australia. It's all coming together, and it's about to be really busy once again.
Yeah, it certainly is here. And like I said, we've had no trouble going over an hour here as we've started these first few shows. Thank you all for sticking with us here as we continue to find our bearings and start this little program up here. Hopefully, sooner rather than later. We both had very busy weeks, but we will get rid of this black void.
We'll have something pretty to look at. I was thinking the same thing when we got into the room here tonight. I was thinking, oh, this dreary black backdrop here. We've been trying to get that looking better. Maybe we'll get like a tropical island or something as a placeholder. It might depend on where we're at.
Well, you've got the light blue and the logo that you put together for us, so maybe there's something we can.
Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah.
And again, right before we go, just on a personal note, I want to thank everybody in my Patreon, and also, of course, everybody at StreamYard as well. Even though I am on the medium plan here, if you will, want to thank them for providing the service for us. And if you want to start streaming on your channel at all, there's a link in the description. You can get a discount for the plan that we have now, and we also get some referral credit for that as well, which will make it a little bit easier on my wallet when we renew this, hopefully for next year. So you can follow the link back to that in the description. Not a sponsor per se, but there is an opportunity to highlight their business here as well. They've been very good to us through my time in my 5 years at the Grid Network, and now what we're trying to build here at the Ben Schneider YouTube channel, I guess you could say, with Ben and Brandon's Motorsport Monday. Good to see Jason again here. Thank you for stopping by the chat here tonight. Grid Rising, Motorsports Monday, Gay Racing Podcast, all in one day there. So yeah, whatever motorsports needs you have here on Monday afternoons and evenings, you got 3 different options, and certainly want to highlight the work that those 2 shows are continuing to do as well. All right, for Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week. Lots to recap. We'll bring it all to you on another Motorsport Monday. Have a good one, everybody.
See you then.